Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. This is your weekly analysis video for Sunday, September 15th. Thanks for joining me this weekend. We have a ton of innovations to share with you, so let's dive right in. Okay, so I want to start with a quick review of what's new and updated in the world of time trades. So we've made some updates to the user guide. There's updated sections on the trading view scripts and updated getting started section. So new users have a little bit more structure to guide them as you explore time trades and everything it offers. Secondly, we've gone through a lot of AI updates in the last week or two. So as I've completed the bulk of the trading view scripts, I've had more time to devote to improving and optimizing the artificial intelligence forecasts that are generated on the website. So I've added some optimizations to how decans are used within the AI, and want to recognize Olga Morales for her great book on that topic. The title is Astrological Decans, Tarot, and the Stock Market Cycles. It's a very affordable book on Amazon. Highly recommend it. And the ideas in that book had an immediate positive impact on the time trades AI forecasts. Secondly, we've optimized the non-directional moves, and I'll show you what I mean by that shortly. So what we've done is we've changed the threshold that defines a big move. It is now the mean move plus 1.33 standard deviations. It used to be the mean move plus 1.5 standard deviations. And that simple I guess, reduction, lowering of the threshold of what defines a mean move has resulted in a huge improvement in average precision of non-directional moves. So that is live on the website as of yesterday, September 14th. Thirdly, and this is also very huge for new users, is we've created something called a line recommender, a planetary line recommender. And the whole idea behind this concept is to help guide users, especially new users, to what are the optimal combinations of inner and outer planetary lines that correlate the most with pivots and moves. Okay. So the whole idea here is to shorten the learning curve and get have users be comfortable with using the powerful planetary line script as quickly as possible. So this line recommender is not yet integrated into time trades. The roadmap, of course, is to integrate it into the website, into timetrades.com, so that users can find the optimal configuration. So for now, I'm going to be dropping the recommended planetary lines into the user guide. That's going to start happening within the next 24 hours or so. If you want to see specific symbols and the output from the recommender in the user guide, just let me know. Drop me an email at support@timetrades.com. So the important thing to note is that this is not AI. The line recommender is simply looking at past correlations between planetary line behavior, like crosses between lines and crosses of a line crossing itself, and seeing how they correlate with pivots and moves. So this is an example of NDX. There's really two big types of events that we're looking at here. The first event type is where you have up to 3 planetary lines, inner planetary lines, and we're looking at crosses between those 3. So not a planetary line crossing itself, but say if you take this first example here, Venus, Earth, and Venus, Earth, synodic. So when Venus crosses Earth, or when Earth crosses Venus, Earth synodic, that is an event. And we look at how that event correlates with pivots or correlates with moves. We give a percentage here in terms of accuracy. It's sorted by pivots, pivot accuracy. So if you scroll down the list here, you can see that there's some move accuracy in the 40s, in the 40%-ish level. So that's Earth, Mars, and Venus, Earth at 40.6 looks like the highest accuracy for moves for NDX. So you can use this information to set your planetary lines, knowing that crosses between these lines are highly correlated with pivots and moves. Secondly, there's another type of event called individual crosses. And this is basically where if you have mirrored lines on when a planetary line crosses itself. So that's effectively 180 degrees and 360 degrees or 0 degrees. So when Venus, for example, crosses itself at 180 or 360, then that has a pivot accuracy that correlates with pivots 38% of the time or moves 45% of the time. Okay, and if you scroll down the list here, you can see that Mars actually correlates with moves 63% of the time when it crosses itself. So this gives you some confidence in terms of how to select those planetary lines. So super cool. Now we're going to be building this into the Time Trades website, so it's a little bit, better interface than just checking the user guide. And that's going to be happening over the coming weeks. All right, what's next? Okay, we learned about a new technique courtesy of longtime Time Trades user T West, and this technique is actually a real light bulb moment for me because it's basically how to build Gann squares from planetary lines. So the trick is to apply multiple TTPL inner current scripts to your chart. You can also theoretically do it with the outer current scripts. I have not personally tried that. You would need to use at least a monthly time frame for outers, or maybe even yearly. But when it comes to daily, daily and weekly, TTPL intercurrent works great. And the trick is to apply multiple instances of that script to your chart and then set the scaling factors to be related harmonics. So it could be squares like 360, 180, 90. So basically the second harmonic and the fourth harmonic of the root scaling factor. Or it could be trines, basically by dividing by 3, actually. So this would be the third harmonic, and then this would be the sixth harmonic. So that's 360, 120, 60. So those would be the scaling factors that you would put into each copy of your PL inner script. And the result is basically a planetary Gann fan. And the light bulb moment for me was realizing, like, I've always had an issue with Gann squares because I never knew where to anchor them. This solves this problem. Okay, so it's basically anchored to the helio zero reset point of these planetary cycles. So here's an example of how to set it up. 3 instances of PL intercurrent on your chart. The first scaling factor is 3600, that's the base. Then we can set the second one to 1200, that's the third harmonic, and the third one to 600, that's the sixth harmonic. So the third harmonic is really just dividing the base by 3. So 3600 divided by 3 and gives you 1200 as a scaling factor here. Same thing for the sixth harmonic. You take the base scaling factor of 3600 divided by 6, you get 600. Okay, and we're using Venus Earth synodic because that's basically the Venus intervals. All right, and then I'll show you the result, and it's quite compelling. Okay, so that's really how to set up Gann squares, and it solves a long-term question for me on where the heck do you anchor these things. And it's super powerful. Really neat technique. Thank you, T, for sharing this. Okay. Next up, roadmap items. Want to give a quick summary on the roadmap. All right, so we want to, in the future, we want to add, update the time trades events trading view script so that you can filter events by sign. So that's something that's on the roadmap in the backlog. We also want to add Wheel of 24 support to the TTPL script so that that option exists. That option is available in the website at the moment, but we also want to add it to TradingView. And continue to make incremental improvements in the AI because we think the AI is the strongest it's ever been right now in time trades, and we want to keep it getting better. Okay, so that's it for our quick update on the technology. Let's dive into the forecast here. And we're going to start by taking a look, as usual, at where we left things off last week. So I'm going to give myself a D for last week's forecast. What did I miss? You can see it right here. This pink line here, this is Jupiter Saturn Synodic from the PL outer current script scaled to 1800. Okay, so for whatever reason, I did not pick up on the fact that we closed right at that level on Friday or slightly above it. We wicked below and then closed above. And that was basically the low. So that provided the support that was needed. So now what we need to do is we need to sort of look up a little bit and look at other levels of the Jupiter Saturn Synodic and look because we may be going for one of those famous round trip moves. We closed above the next level here at about 13 or 19,388. The next one above that is up here at 20,218. Okay, so as we build out the new forecast, I want to show a couple things. Let's start with T's work here. So here we go. So this is the example of T's technique using the intercurrent script 3600 Venus Earth Synodic mirroring on. Okay, and the second one here is 1200 Venus Earth Synodic mirroring on, and the third one is 600. Okay, so that's the three different scaling factors. Those are basically set to trines or factors of three. And you can see there's some very interesting price action here. This lower line here and this upper line here have provided a long-term channel. We're looking at a weekly level, poked above this long-term channel, failed, came back down. And look at the importance of the Fibonacci time intervals here. So this is anchored to the start of a Venus Earth synodic cycle, and the end is over here. So that's about 584 days. That's what it takes for Venus Earth to complete an entire cycle. And we can see the importance of 382. We can see the importance of 618. And the 786 is coming up here in mid-November. All right, so I will let you digest this technique, play around with it. I strongly encourage you to try it out and apply it to the symbols that you're trading. Okay, so as we build out the forecast, I want to share with you an observation here around eclipse seasons because we're coming into eclipse seasons. We have the lunar eclipse happening this week. I think it's the 18th and 19th. It's a partial lunar eclipse followed by a solar eclipse on October 2nd. And what happens to the nodes during eclipse season, you can see here we've got, this is basically a Gann fan anchored to zero. This is another cool technique, anchoring Gann fans to zero. basically underneath the COVID low, okay? So really what this tracks is degrees of movement of planets. So we've got the node, Jupiter, Chiron, and Saturn. So this is counting degrees of movement of those planets since that important low. And really what I wanted to show you is how the lunar node basically pauses in its movement right around eclipse season. And the logic is pretty easy to understand, that basically an eclipse is a three-way blocking of Earth, Moon, and Sun. And that's where they become kind of stuck gravitationally, and the nodes cease to move. Takes a while for things to become unstuck, and then the nodes resume moving. So what you see here is a tendency for consolidation and correction in the last few months, when the nodes are moving sideways, effectively stationary. So the nodes moving sideways, that's when we tend to get the correction. And also notice, this is a weekly chart. Also notice the tendency for a move down in the second half of eclipse season. That happened in October. That also happened in April. So October 2023, April 2024. We get these big moves down in the second half of eclipse season. This year's or this coming eclipse season starts Monday and it ends at the end of October. Okay, so it's a little wider than others. Eclipse season is not based on arbitrary days before and after an eclipse. It's actually based on an analysis of the lunar node speed. So this is based on the time it takes the nodes to start kind of moving normally again. So because the nodes are slow for about 4 or 5 weeks here, that's why our purple bar is a little bit wider. Okay, so that is an important point, and we're going to lean into this observation that hey, we tend to be getting dumps in the latter part of eclipse season. So let's build a new forecast taking advantage of that information here. So I'm going to hide this old forecast. Okay. And what I'm going to do is as usual, take a look at speed index. So speed index is peaking September 19th. Okay. And also we have our famous Mars-Uranus cycle. So that has been ticking off very important highs and lows every 15 degrees of Mars-Uranus. So this is using the TT ruler outer synodic current script, and it's anchored to October 25th. And all we're showing here is 15 degrees of Mars-Uranus. Okay. So it got this low, it got this high, and the question is, what is this next one going to be on September 27th? Okay, so that's Mars-Uranus, and the other thing I want to share with you is this trend-based fib extension. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're measuring the length of this swing, and then we're projecting it from this low on September 6th. Okay, and that gives us some interesting levels. In fact, the 618 of this length, so if this length is 1 in price, 618 of that creates almost a perfect double top at little over 20,000. Okay, so that is interesting. And then if we replicate this entire length up here, we make a very, very slight new high, very, very slight new all-time high. Okay, so that is an interesting data point. Okay, coming up this week, in addition to the lunar eclipse, we also have speed index peak on the 19th, And also, of course, the big Fed meeting on the 18th. So we get interest rate announcements, and everyone is foreshadowing or forecasting a 25 basis point drop in the Fed funds rate for that. So we don't really use that information too much in our analysis here, but it's interesting to note that it's coming right at a speed index high. Okay, so let's also add a few new Gann fans to this. So what I want to do is, just so that I don't overwhelm with lines, is let's add this Gann fan down from the all-time high and this one here from the low. Okay, so what are these Gann fans? So this guy here is anchored to April 18th. It's Venus Earth Synodic, scaled at 1800, and you can see the multipliers there. All right, and you can see how important this Gann fan is by looking at the wicks that we get here. So when we get wicks that cross a Gann fan, like two of them here and then one of them here, again, this reinforces the point that this Monday low or the Friday low last week, I really should have caught it if I had the right Gann fans on and was paying attention to those. Okay, so that's Venus Earth Synodic, caught last Friday's low. And up here, I like to project from the all-time high because I'm trying to look for the opposite scenario where we catch a high with a wick above one of these descending Gann fans. And in this case, we've got Mercury, Earth, and Earth, Mars scaled at 1800, and you can see the multipliers there, -1 through 8. All right. And we can see some wicks here on the 22nd of August and the 3rd of September. So that's telling us that this purple line, which is Mercury Earth Synodic, is important. So maybe we get a rejection up here at the next one, and you can see where that Mercury Earth is descending there. Okay, so we've taken a look at those Gann fans. Let's go give a quick look at the machine learning before we present the new forecast. So I'm going to flip over to the website, and we're going to take a look at the Qs. Okay, so one of the things you'll notice with the Qs is we've got a big spike in pivots over here, September 18th. Okay, and that's important, right? The other thing I'll point out in terms of the pivots is that the pivots are really delayed. Like the last, by delayed, I mean that the all the pivots that you see basically in the last 3 months are forecast. So this is a forecast pivot here. This is a forecast pivot here. The last actual pivot is, I believe it's over here in early July. And the reason for that is the algorithm I use to identify pivot points, it takes up to 2 to 3 months sometimes to actually identify a pivot as, hey, this is a pivot. Okay, so for that reason, the most recent pivots here are actually forecast pivots and not identified pivots. So we've got some very interesting confirmation that the pivots over here are making very, very good forecasts, especially this September 6th one. Look at that, perfect hit on that forecast pivot. So our next forecast pivot is over here, September 18th, 76% probability, very high probability. And again, we don't have FOMC dates coded into the machine learning. This is just purely based on Astro. So it's always interesting when those real world events happen to occur on big days like that. Next big pivot is over here, October 25th, with 82% probability. So that end of August date that I mentioned in last week's video is looming large. Let's take a look at NDX, see if it aligns. We've got a pivot on the 19th, and then after that, the 11th, and then after that, the 31st. Okay, let's take a look at SPX. SPX has a pivot on the 29th, so things are shifted a little. Oh no, that's the 20th. It just looks like the 29th. So things are shifted maybe a day in the future for SPX, and then also the 25th of August. Okay. And we can take a look at SPY to see how that lines up. SPY, we have a lower probability for this week. But then very high probability on the 24th. So again, we've got confirmation that the this week is a very important week across all four of the major ETFs and indexes that we look at, plus end of October. And I haven't even talked about all the massive probabilities of moves in here, which is huge. Okay, so let's go back and unveil our updated forecast based on all this information. So if we unhide this, okay. Basically, the logic behind this green box is that the start of this zone in price is the speed index peak. So let's show speed index here. And let me just hide some of this, hide some of this. So speed index is this teal line that's wandering all over the place. So we have a speed index peak on Thursday, okay? So we also have FOMC on Wednesday, and we've got a cluster of AI pivots around here. So that's the start of the green box. The end of the green box is really Mars Uranus 15, that tag, in case this marks a high. It may not, it may actually mark a low, or it may not even be active. We don't know. All right. And on the price side, we've got the price target starting at a 50% retrace of this swing and ending at 100% retrace of this swing projected from this higher low over here. Okay, and in addition, we also have, let's not forget Jupiter, Saturn, Synodic. So we've got Jupiter, Saturn, Synodic here that was captured Friday's low. And our next levels on that are up here at 20,200. And if things get really super bullish, the next one is up here at about 21,180. Okay, so if we take a look at our Gann fans, then we can also use these. Let me just turn off the rest because there's too many lines to make this readable. All right, so I like to use these Gann fans coming up from the bottom and down from the top because they give us confirmation levels. So what I'm looking for again is price action that aligns with astro timing. So if we see wicks that go up above one of these Gann fans and then close below, that's an important price behavior, right? So an example is this guy here on Friday. We wicked almost to the tick of this Venus Earth Gann fan, okay, and then recovered. So maybe we get something similar near the end of this move up, right? And we can adjust the multipliers accordingly. Maybe we need to have a 6 multiplier in here instead of 4. Or maybe we have 6 and 4. So you can play with the multipliers to get new levels, right? And you can see me, look at that. That's important resistance. That's important resistance. So this is good confirmation that this Gann fan is important. Maybe we go all the way up here, right to the middle of our target box, and we get a wick up above there and then a close below. So these Gann fans are an important part of the confirmation strategy when using time trades, okay? And we've gone over the machine learning pivots. So this is really our forecast going forward. And we will update you on that next weekend. And maybe we'll see evidence of a reversal, maybe not. We will be about less than halfway through this target box next weekend. Okay, so thanks for listening. That was super long. I'm going to be back with a quick view on Bitcoin and gold. All right, we're back and looking at Bitcoin, and I've applied T's technique here to Bitcoin. I've got two copies of PL intercurrent here on the chart using our favorite Mercury Helio. And the first one is scaled at $18,000 per 360 degrees. Okay, so one entire orbit of Mercury Helio is jammed into $18,000 worth of price. All right. And the second PL intercurrent instance is 1/4 of that, 4,500. Okay. And what we can see here, I'm going to reiterate what I talked about the last time, is that basically patience is needed here because most of the pumps on Bitcoin tend to happen in the second half of the Mercury Helio orbit. All right. So if going back to January, here we are in the second half of Mercury Helio, and that's when we got the big pump from like 40 up to 60 plus 68 or so. Okay, so that was the big move there. Similar situation back in May. Not quite as big, but came back into the same price level. Similar situation, but if you notice, the pumps keep starting a little bit later. This one actually was two waves. The first one was July, and the second one started in August, and they both made lower highs. Okay, so despite the recent move up here in Bitcoin, I am not keen to buy this at the moment. I still think patience is warranted in here until we get to the second half of this Venus Helios cycle. And the time trades machine learning would tend to agree, even though we've got a big wave of 5-day moves greater than 1.33 standard deviations. So it's declining. Okay. So I don't like to buy when these are declining. I like to buy when these are increasing. Okay. We also have this pivot over here, October 4th. Okay. So if we take a look at where October 4th is, it's just past this 50% mark of the Venus Helio cycle. Now, the other thing I'll call to your attention, which is super interesting, is notice what happens when the there's a cross between the two planetary lines. So these are the same planet, just scaled differently, and they cross at these intervals here. So here's a cross from September 8th to September 9th. Okay, pretty important day trading wise. Here's another cross over here, August 7th, August 8th. Again, pretty important day trading wise, huge, huge pump. So I'll leave it up to you to go back and take a look at some of these crosses. Like, look at this one here, July 21st, high. All right, huge day. Okay, so this is super, super interesting, and it's an area of research for me. So I want to point this out to you so that you can do some of your own research as well. Here's another cross right at the high. Okay, so this has the potential to be a massive edge when it comes to trading anything. And given the speed that Bitcoin moves and the speed that crypto moves, this could be a real account changer if we can master this setup. All right, so take a look at those line crosses. All right, thank you. I'll be back shortly with a view on gold. All right, here's a quick view to gold, and the bullish trend continues. You can see the very strong move up last week, and this was forecast a couple weeks ago by the machine learning, and it's confirmed here. You can see the probability of a 5-day move peaking over here. So we may be in for a little bit of a pause as we digest this move up, but we see no big pivots until October 1st. Okay, there's another huge pivot over here, October 31st. So what this is telling us, and the way I like to use this information, is whatever trend that's in force at the moment will tend to remain in force until the next big pivot. And that's a generalization. That's also means it's also can be wrong and will be wrong. But that should give you a bias here to basically buy dips in this area before October 1st. The other observation is that after October 1st, between October 1st and October 31st, if we do indeed get a pivot around here, then it's another opportunity to trade whatever trend is in force for the month of October. Okay. What I like to see is exactly this kind of action in the machine learning where we have a pivot and then we have moves afterwards. So this is lining up nicely so that whatever pivot this happens to be at the end of October, could be a pivot low, pivot high, then we would get a potentially a move in the opposite direction based on the move probabilities. So based on that peak in move probability, I'm expecting a bit of consolidation here, but no pivots are anticipated until early October over here. I think this is basically a period of consolidation before we make another leg up in gold. All right, so that's my quick view on gold and Bitcoin and the NQ. So just a reminder, everything I've talked about in this video is educational material only. This is not financial advice. You own your own trades and you need to manage your own risk. Thanks again for using time trades, and we'll talk to you again next weekend. Bye now.